Hello, my little goblins. We're back again, and this time we're here with the festival. I know you guys are a little excited about this festival because it's all that gems you could be making. And here's the fastest way to be making them gems. First of all, we're going to show you 3 dark decks and 3 light decks. So stay tuned because we're going to go over pretty good decks that are very accessible. The first deck we're going to go over is this control deck. This is pretty much an ELDLICH DOGMATIKA control deck. You get to abuse like DOGMATIKA punishment because Elder Entity is not hit from this deck, so because it's a light, so it kind of matches up with the deck. So it works off a Diviner as well. We're playing Heralds too to search. Nadir search. Nothing really is hit off of this deck, and you have the interruption from ELDLICH. Yes, we get locked into zombies with Sanguine, but we're not really doing too much on our opponent's turn. But you do have to be careful with the Sanguine lock and DOGMATIKA Floateris because you won't obviously be able to summon this card if you are using Sanguine, right? So that is something to watch out for. But I think this deck will be pretty strong. I think Albazoa is still a very powerful card to resolve and like just pick apart your opponent's extra deck. So I think this will be a pretty sweet one. It's very consistent. So all these decks that you're about to see, I've tried multiple times to make sure that the decks are relatively consistent and they play well. So this is the first deck I'm going to go with, and they only get better from here. So hello, we're here with deck number 2 for the light side, and we have Drytron. This deck is gonna, dude, I look crazy right now. What even happened in here? I look like I've been through it. I'm gonna keep this in the video, but dude, it's late night. I'm trying to make sure you guys get these decks, but dude, this deck is gonna be gnarly. So we're playing pretty much every Drytron at 3 besides Altius. I think it's the worst one. We're playing Eva's at 1, Herald at 1. We're playing the other Herald just to have another name because Eva doesn't work unless you have 2 targets to grab in the deck. So, and then we're playing the Diviner of the Herald. Manju, it sounds weird to play Manju, but the more we can see Ben 10, because Ben 10's at 1, the better. So it does make it so you can't use Diviner, but with the Ben 10 searches, you're probably just going to be searching out like Eva and then maybe like Herald of Green Light or something, or Herald of Orange Light. So, and Manju's still not a bad card to go into, so it's still pretty decent. Other than that, I mean, this deck's pretty sick. You just set up Herald of Perfection, multiple negates, your opponent can't deal with it, and they probably lose the game. And if we're going second, the game plan is going to be probably the Dark Ruler, unless they didn't set anything up. If they're a back row deck, you can just use this card to wipe their entire back row out. And yeah, it should be pretty solid. The back row decks are going to have a lot though, because like you can play Lab. Lab's going to be like pretty weak though, but it's going to have to be Splash or something. But they can play Lab with Lord of Heavenly Prison, which will give them back row protection. The extra deck, we do have a way of going into Easy Zeus. You get the Faroners, which is you kind of need, and this is kind of troll, but it is possible to go into it. But we mainly have some cards in there for Pot of Peace, so do with it as you will. Michael actually is not a bad card because you can banish a card on the field, and all it takes is a Diviner plus a level 1 to go into Michael, so it's actually not a bad option too for level 7. But the deck's pretty standard in my opinion. I feel like a lot of cards are pretty basic like Drytron cards. The deck's a lot stronger because there's really not much that hit it in the format because Bishiels are gone, but there is one hand trap that does hit it. So if you guys know what hand trap that is, let me know down in the comments, but it is going to be coming up when we cover the dark section. Alright, so here we have deck number 3, and it is Exosisters, and my goodness is this deck vile. I just want to say this deck is pretty gross. So we're running the full Exosister. Pretty much the only thing hit on Exosister is packs to 1, which does suck. Don't get me wrong, it does suck. But we're also able to play Defissure very easily. We play Pot of Pete and Pot of Extravagance. Just because you're playing both doesn't mean you're going to have to banish 12 cards out of your extra deck. You can choose to banish less. So don't think of it as like, oh no, I'm making my opponent. I'm like losing all the extra deck cards. Like you don't have to. Triple tactics obviously really strong in the deck too. We're also playing good hand traps, playing call buys. But one thing that did come up in my mind when I was testing this deck is, again, if we don't have to worry about the light decks, right? If your opponent is like playing like Effect Veiler, like in Ghost Ogre and stuff, yes, this is still good. Call by is a good card. But if they're playing the dark deck, we don't really care that much about any of the dark hand traps. Like they don't really have like ones that impact this deck at all. So I actually think you might be able to cut the call by. But it's up to you. If you cut the call by, I would replace it, maybe add another Irene or another Sophia, and then maybe add something else like Upstart Goblin or something like that, just to thin out the deck. You could realistically replace Extra for 2 Upstarts. Like if you end up replacing the card, like you could put Upstart instead of this because you can just dig 1 with it. It's not that big of a deal. I do like the fact that you can draw 2, but again, you know my thing with Extra, I get kind of tilted when I use it and I just banish everything that's good, but it's there. So maybe Extra is overdoing it, but we are running 3 of like almost every card in the deck except for Magnifica. So I don't know. But yeah, I think EXOSISTERS is going to be one of the best light decks in the game. That, but the Drytron, I think they're going to be insane. But the dark decks have just as much crazy cards, and you guys are going to see how crazy they get. All right, deck number 1 for the dark decks, and this is a personal like joke at this point, but dude, for the past like 4 or 5 festivals, I swear, Abyss Actors has been like goated. It's been so good. So this deck works completely, like really well against obviously everything in the format. The only thing I'll say is Dark Ruler. I normally don't have this because I like OTKing, but if your opponent is playing Drytron, like with Herald, not like I don't think you could really play Droplet because I don't think you can go down that many cards. But if you don't want to play Dark Ruler, you can replace this for possibly replace this for Kaijus. Because you can just Kaiju the Herald and then you have like plays off of that. But yeah, this deck is going to be very good in my opinion. And I know it's a joke, so if you guys don't want to build Abyss Actors, or you guys don't have Abyss Actors, whatever. But the deck's gonna be very good because this deck is really good at OTKing, and it's so funny because it looks like a terrible deck, but it does really well. So this is like last one with everyone playing Labyrinth. I played Abyss Actors and I steamrolled all my points like so fast. And I think the one before that, same thing. Your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, so you just blind second every time with this deck and you just steamroll them. So yeah, this deck will be goated, but I know there's a lot of people who don't have these cards, so I'm gonna go to the next one, which is a cheaper option. All right, for deck number 2, we're gonna go with Dark Magician. This is a very more budget-friendly deck for the most part. You're gonna see some things that shock you, but we're gonna go over it real quick. So this is just a standard Dark Magician deck. You go first. You can end on like Predaplant Verte with some traps, and like try and set up your Dark Magician package, which goes into DPE too. We're playing Fusion Destiny, as you can see, but we're also playing Mask Change 2, so like your Magician Souls and your Magician Rod, honestly, and technically if you get Denier out on the field too, Denier can go into Dark Law, and Dark Law's banish effect I think is going to really hinder a lot of different decks. It gets the Dark Law hinder effect gets like way better, I think, if you get to play against other dark decks too. But this deck card, if you get this out completely neuter, you like insta win against Drytron. So unless they have some way of negating it, so that's gonna be pretty solid. The DD Crows. So this is the hand trap I was talking about, by the way. DD Crow is going to be absolutely insane. Because versus like a lot of decks, you can just snipe that like one card, because a lot of people are not going to be playing around Bestials because Bestials are banned, which means the decks that normally Bestials hit got way better in this. That's why Drytron's playable. But DD Crow is still a scary thing. So like the reason why you want to run those call boys in the Drytrons and stuff is to stop DD Crows. So that's gonna be pretty good. But yeah, pretty much you want to go into DPE, Dark Law, and then try and set up your Magician Circle with Eternal Soul, and yeah, you got a pretty good end board. We're also running Chaos Angel, which is pretty funny because Dark Magician plus a Magician's Rod lets you go into Chaos Angel. So kind of cool tech. But this deck's looking pretty spicy, and it's relatively cheap. I know you might think it's not that cheap, but a lot of these cards come from the structure deck. The Dark Laws, obviously, if you guys don't have this. DPE, I feel like you guys should have. But if you guys don't have Dark Law, you can replace a Mask Change with another Dark Magician card, or you could even play another. If you have more Solemn Strikes, you can replace these for Solemn Strikes. I just think Dark Law is crazy, so. But we have a way cheaper deck that's coming up. So just stay tuned. We're gonna get it. It's actually I think it's the best dark deck. All right, so for deck number 3, this one's a bit troll, but you can play heroes. It's not going to be a good heroes deck in my opinion, but it's pretty much the turbo out plasma, because there's a lot of decks in the format that can't beat plasma. So if you can manage to go plasma into Destiny Hero Phoenix Destroyer or whatever, you like think about it. If you can go plasma, DPE, Dark Law, there's like, unless someone opens up like Dark Ruler or something, they're playing Dark Ruler, which not many people play, to be real. They're fucked. They're actually like going to get annihilated. And another thing that's hilarious is D-Force. This card's absolutely cracked. So if you have plasma on the field, you can't draw. You cannot draw during the draw phase. Okay, whatever. Your opponent cannot target cards you control with effects, and then DPE gains 100 attack for each monster in the graveyards. Cannot be destroyed by card effects, and also can make a second attack at each battle phase. So protect the plasma, and you're Gucci. So that's what I'm gonna say. But most of the time, you're probably just gonna win off of like these two cards. Some of these cards might look a little sussy to you, but Vision Hero Trinity can go pretty hard with the OTK potential too. But for the most part, some of these are just troll. Like one of the troll combos I have here is Contrast. Going into Contrast plus a level 1 allows you to go into Chaos Angel and get both effects, but this effect is absolutely useless. It's literally just a troll in the deck. But so realistically, you can fix the extra deck up a little, but this is kind of the base. Like minus like a few of these cards, it's kind of the base. I still think the deck's pretty. I tested it out and it's okay, but it's kind of troll. We're gonna get to the best deck though, that I think for the dark side especially. Ta-da! Here's the cheapest dark deck that you can possibly build. That's on steroids, literally untouched. Blackwing. You can just play this shit at full power, just absolutely, like, obviously you can't play hand traps and stuff like that, but we're playing DD Crows, which is also like a winged beast too, which is kind of funny, and a dark winged beast. So the small world bridge is going to be the Radiant, but this deck is gonna go crazy, let me tell you that. Like it's full power. Like this is legit, like just this legit is just a very powerful deck. Plus you have Chaos Angel on top of this. So realistically, you could probably end on like Chaos Angel, right? Your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, and then just like, I mean, realistically, you don't even have to do this. You can probably just go into the triple Blackwing Assault Dragon with like Hot Red or something. This deck's gonna be crazy. This deck's gonna be nuts, in my personal opinion. Because this deck on ladder is already decent. Like it's already like pretty good, but they hit a lot of the other decks that are on ladder. Like pretty much every deck that's like top tiers hit on ladder, and this deck is just like bananas because there's no bestials or anything, so it just goes like super hard. Let me know down in the comments if I missed any decks, because I'll be surprised. I did look pretty thoroughly through the effects. I think there's some other pendulum shenanigans you can do, to be honest, especially on the dark side, because Beyond the Pendulum is a dark card. So definitely, if there is a pendulum deck, it's probably going to be on the dark side. But I think both sides are going to have valid good decks that you can play, and I'm pretty interested to see what some people cook. Yeah, you can probably cook something wild, but I honestly, I was just thinking of like the easiest decks that like people have the cards to, that can just like pump out as many wins as possible, as quick as possible, because usually people just want to get over with the event. But if you like to enjoy it for the event, then cook your own list. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and goodbye.